And welcome back, everybody, to this session. This is studio session 19, Candy Ribbon Cane. And I was definitely inspired by Candy on this one, you guys. I think Candy has been inspiring me my whole life. Anyway, I want to start out with this, with the ribbon cane itself. And I have two colors that I'm going to use. But first, well, three colors, but first I am going to get some clear onto a punty. If you're not comfortable using a metal punty, that's cool. You can just use whatever you want to. You can work right off of the glass rod if you want. Either way, I'm going to get about ½ an inch worth of clear here. You can get more if you want it bigger. And then I'm going to just flatten it down so I have about just a nice flat disc. And this will be the back side. And then we'll work our way up from here. And I'm going to start out with the black intense. And this is just the 2mm rod here. You can pull your own stringer if you want it thinner. But I like it a little on the thick side so it gives a nice border in between each color. And I'm going to add 2 stripes. And then I will just take a little time to heat it up and flatten that down. And while I'm doing this, I'll kind of bring you back up to date. I know our very last, the last demonstration, I gotta cut myself off at the end because the demo went by very quickly at the end there. But I was talking about the walnut tree that fell on our studio garage in the backyard, our neighbor's walnut tree. And anyway, you can see I'm adding 3 different colors here: a dark pink, the turquoise light. I love this color, and the new violet. But you can add whatever colors you want. I just was really inspired by taffy and cotton candy and I don't know, all these like yummy candies for this cane. So anyway, Patrick spent like several days cleaning. Everything is now in piles, but just cutting all the wood down, all that stuff, and getting all the walnuts in cans, and just cleaning up the backyard again, making it look nice. Yeah, so he can continue the commission that he's doing. And then, so that's done. But, it was really funny because their landlord never showed up, never nothing. And it turns out that I guess he was out of town, but he's going to cut Patrick a nice check, hopefully, for his services of cutting down and processing the whole walnut tree that, landed everywhere. So we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, I have built this up. Now you can add 3 more opaque colors on top of those colors before you add your black stripes. So you could have a 6-color double-sided ribbon cane if you want. So that's another demo, I think, in the future that we may have to do. Either way, I added the black stripes on top of the color. So now it looks like there's a nice black line in between the colors. And in the long run, the dark pink and the new violet, they looked almost the same to me. So if you don't have the dark pink, you can just use the violet on both sides, or really whatever colors you like. And then I outlined the whole thing in the intense black. And now we want to cap this side off with a layer of clear. So we're ending up with a nice lollipop sandwich of colors inside. And the thinner it is, you don't want it too thin because you are stretching out that color quite a bit. But you want to have a nice amount of clear on both sides so you really see that nice twist of that nice twisted effect. So I'm going to finish building this up with a couple more layers of clear. I love candy, you guys. I have been eating candy my whole life, except for a certain period of time. But I can remember just like going to, the local gas station or convenience store and always wanting candy, always wanting to try the newest thing, the coolest thing. I remember eating that. I remember really enjoying gum a lot when I was a kid, and eating that old school, gosh, what was it, like zebra stripe gum? You guys remember that stuff? Ooh, and I also loved the, it was spearmint, Wrigley's spearmint gum. Ooh, that was one of my favorites too. And we were always like, trading gum at school and, in grade school. And then like different gums came out, like Bubble Yum and Hubba Bubba, and the square gum, not the stick gum. And that kind of changed everything. I've always been good about trying to keep my teeth clean, though. I'll let you know that. However, over my life, I think a lot of stress kind of it ruins my teeth. At least that's how I feel. Maybe it is, the sugar, but I'm, like I said, I try my best to take care of my teeth and my body. But when, I have probably, gosh, I can't believe I'm telling you guys this, but I probably had like maybe 12 root canals. 12 caps, and that was all before the museum, we'll say that. and it was just kind of one of those things. My parents don't have, sorry mom, dad, they really didn't have the best teeth, and a lot of times that is maybe a genetic thing. So I don't fault myself for my love of candy to my poor teeth health. You can only do so much. But yeah, I was so stressed out at certain points in my life that I just feel like, and then I would let it go, and I wouldn't say anything, and then at the end it would be like, oh, well, got to do a root canal. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. I could probably do a root canal in my sleep, you guys. It's not that bad, actually. I'm telling you. It's really a kind of interesting process, but it doesn't hurt. It's just I think it's kind of like the vibrations feel strange sometimes in your teeth when they're drilling out the hole. Anyway, let me get back to this. I've added a whole bunch of clear on both sides. I thought I was going to round it out in the marble mold, but at the last minute I decided, this looks fine. I think I'm just going to put a punty in on the other side. It looks nice and even, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And so now all I have to do is heat everything up nice and gently and fully. This is always, one of those things when you can always continue to heat this up. It gets this point where it's ready, like it's hot all the way through, and that's kind of what I'm waiting for before I start doing the twist. And I'll do a little bit of this twisting inside the flame to kind of get things going. If it doesn't come out perfectly, that's okay. Sometimes these canes can wiggle back and forth as they twist and look even more interesting. Okay, so I'm going to come out of the flame there, and you see I'm kind of trying to get everything just to stay centered. So I'll flip back and forth sometimes and then start twisting, and then that's when I start twisting a lot is when I'm pulling a lot. And then I'm going to come out of the flame, cut this thing off. This went by way too quick, so I had to kind of speed things up a little bit here, but I'm going to break this off, cut it in the flame. I have a little extra to play with later on. I always like to get as much as I can off of the mandrel. And that is our cane. So let's go ahead and use this candy ribbon cane in our piece. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a base layer of that light turquoise again. There is something about this color that I'm just in love with lately, so I thought it would make a nice background, even though there's a lot of blue in the cane. I just kind of like the way, I don't know, I just like the way it looked. You could have put, you could put a red background or a yellow background if you want to have the cane. Ooh, even a black background would look good. To have the cane pop a little bit more, but I think it worked out really good with this, with the same color as the background. Anyway, I'm going to wind this up all the way on the mandrel, taking my time as I go, making sure that the mandrel is nice and hot where the glass is touching it. And I'm going to go a little bit more than an inch on this one. Add more glass if I need to here and there. And this is where you see me start to kind of heat one side of the glass as I want a little bit. Well, I really didn't do it here, so I kind of slopped up. But I'm initially looking to keep one side cool and the other side warm as I go. And that kind of helps me keep everything nice and even around the mandrel as I roll it. So once I have my shape, I'm going to just add a little bit more. And we will go ahead and, it was really not only the edge I wanted to shape up over here, but I just wanted it a little bit longer. So you can always add a little disc of glass where you need to at the end. I don't add it right to the end, but close to the end. And now we will continue. Okay, so after this, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my cane, and then we'll add the clear on top. The one thing, though, when you are building beads like this, and I've talked to you guys frequently about this, is that no matter how thin you make your first bead, it can really get big quick. So I'm always trying to thin out this very first bead when I'm doing a layered piece like this as much as I can. But even with a 3/32 of an inch mandrel, the glass around it, it really can only thin out so much. So on top of this, so I understand if you have problems with the bead getting big quick. Anyway, on top of this, I am going to go ahead and do a full, tight as I can, just kind of working my way down with this cane from top to bottom of the bead. And I'll make sure that those canes that I add are nice and warm, not overheated, but nice and warm as I go. So I will just feed the cane into the bead, and I'm also holding it nice and low to the bead itself, and I'm gently pressing down, very gently, so I feel like I have control over where that line is going. That's really important when you're adding these. So I always will heat the tip up and then just slowly work my way down. And then when I get to the end, I'll just hold, the heat there and pull away gently. It takes time to, get this technique down, just the whole striping technique. So if you're having problems or your cane is breaking, it's okay. The best thing to do in situations like that, or just try to continue by adding the cane to where it broke off, or working that somehow into your design. So yeah, I've had a lot of teeth problem, you guys, especially the one in Alaska. Whew, that one really was a doozy for me. And then it was probably about, after I left the museum, we no longer had health insurance. So I had to pay, for everything out of pocket, and the dentist is just so expensive, and there's not a lot of places that cover that have dental insurance anyways. So over time I started losing teeth because all of the root canals that I had done, they're like 20, 25 years old, and over time, they fail. So, so over time I lost more and more teeth in the back, all of my molars and, chewing teeth. And with less teeth comes less candy. So it was such a bummer because I couldn't chew anymore. I couldn't chew gum. I couldn't eat hard candy, soft candy. It was just hard to eat in general. Okay, so at this point I know it's weird going back and forth between the bead and my teeth, but at this point I'm just going to pull in with my tungsten pick the very ends of these canes. And then I'll just give everything a nice full kind of soak and make sure that all the cane is right where I want it before I start to melt everything in. All right, so I am very gently going to work the edges a little bit with my butter knife here, and it's just personal preference at this point on how you want to deal with your ends. Do you want them slightly angled? Do you want them rounded? Do you want them nice and flat? So you do have some options here. I am just going to kind of just gently angle them out a little bit. And then I'll just take all this time to slowly heat everything up. I don't want to I don't like to just heat everything up and hope that it all melts together. So what I like to do is heat and then marver a little bit. Heat and then marver a little bit. So and I'll do it in sections. So the pattern and the cane will compress close to the bead as evenly as possible. Sometimes it takes me a while to figure out what I want to say, especially when it's technical like that. And then you get to this point where everything, all that cane kind of pushes and butts up together. And that's it for these. It takes practice, but it's actually, it's very simple. And it looks good with all sorts of different types of cane, this pattern, or this way of, just simply adding the cane. And then I'm just going to work my edges a little bit, and we will get down into the encasement. So yeah, not having candy after a while, it was such a bummer. And then, you know what? This looks great just the way it is. You don't even have to add the clear on top, you guys. I just do because I am obsessed, with the dimensionality of the glass, as many of us are. But I just always have to add the clear just to see what's going to happen. So I'm going to heat up my glass a nice amount, enough for a full swipe, and I kind of, very gently grab the edge of the bead and then swipe. Try not to hit the mandrel itself. And I'm just going to take my time heating and swiping all that clear around here. So it was, it was after COVID that I decided, you guys, that I needed to get dentures. I had seen a couple of specialists, and they wanted like $150,000 for like implants, because I thought I wanted implants. I'm not going to lose my teeth. There's no way. I can't do it. I love my front teeth. I don't want to be, a freak. And the price, it was just too much. I can barely afford to, we're cool, but it's, things are tight. And that's not something that was affordable to me, not even with the help of my family, who did end up helping me out in the long run. But it was like, gosh, trying to think of the exact year. I'm so bad with years, you guys. It was a couple years after COVID. And, you know, I'd seen my dentist, and he was like, you know what, it's really, you know, these teeth are not going to last forever. You know, they're shifting, they're moving, they're getting loose, you know, and I'm like, oh my God. So I ended up going to this Affordable Dentures. You guys know that place, Affordable Dentures and Implants? I went there, and it was kind of like a horrific experience for me. Just the thought of losing my front teeth. So I did this whole thing where I got dentures that went around my front teeth. And I was okay with those for a while. You know, it was kind of a freak out on the top and bottom. So I have a bottom retainer and a top palate kind of a thing. And I mean, the whole story with these people, they're really, really, really nice. But the doctor himself, dude, he was kind of shady. Anyway, so I end up getting this full set of dentures, and then after, gosh, about 6 months, I went back to my original dentist, and and I asked him, I said, do you think I should get full dentures? And he said, yes, absolutely, end of story. And I was like, oh God, you know, and I cried for days. I mean, I was so depressed, you know, and so scared. Let's get back to this bead real quick. So I just scraped a whole bunch of bead release off the mandrel. So obviously I'm coming to a close here. So I'm going to put one more wrap on here, just in the center real quick, and melt it in and be done with it. So that bead release doesn't have time to pull away from the mandrel. I was bummed out because I could have done a lot more on this bead. Anyway, so yeah, I ended up having to get full dentures on the top. And this also happened while I'm, you know, doing these videos and everything. So there are moments where I talk a little differently in certain demos, and I was so like freaked out by that, and freaked out that I don't have any teeth, and that I gotta, you know, have a full set of dentures, and that I gotta take them out every night and wash them and clean them, and you know, all that good stuff. Anyway, the best part about it, and there is always a good part about it, is that I can actually eat food again and chew like a normal person. So I'm going to finish up here just by kind of cleaning everything up. I'm trying to stay away from that torn bead release there. So I'm just kind of getting around it and just cleaning up the whole angle of the bead as to how I want it to be. And I'm just kind of getting it as close as I can. And then I will I kind of let the heat do the rest. I'll do a little bit of rolling here and there, but mainly I'm going to just finish everything out with the heat. There's also a good side to having my dentures, is that I can eat as much candy as I want, you guys, as long as it is not like certain things like gum. I did try to eat a piece of gum a couple years into having my dentures, and it was a nightmare. It immediately stuck to my dentures, and it took me hours to get it off. It was crazy. So here is my bead right now. I definitely want to cool it down a little bit more, and then I'm looking at it. I'm going to shape it up a little bit more here. But yeah, so now I can eat all sorts of candy, and I'm really into the gummies. I love gummies, and my favorite candy lately are Squashies from the UK. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's my favorite because I really, really like marshmallows and dark chocolate and peanut butter. I don't know what it is about that combination, but I love it if I want chocolate. It's always got to be dark. And with marshmallows. Sometimes walnuts are good in there too. Anyway, but oh my gosh, I love the Squashies from the UK and the Bubs from Sweden. Those are my new favorite candies. And I have, a constant candy salad going if I can afford it, because candy's expensive nowadays, guys. So I always like to have a little candy salad going of all different types of my favorite candies so I can be happy and be okay with having my dentures. So it all is worth it in the end. And I can talk again, which is great. Anyway, I don't want to overheat this too much, especially at the ends, but I'm going to give it a light heat, and we are done with this candy ribbon cane, you guys. I hope you all enjoy, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon.